Hey, scrappy people. Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a life-crafted layout using the Cocoa Daisy Paperie collection. And today I'm scrapbooking this adorable photo of my son and my puppy. And I have cut out these half hearts with my silhouette machine on 2 by 2 inch pieces of paper from the Cocoa Daisy collection. Moving this a little fast because I do go back and forth and back and forth, but I'm going to staple each of these little half hearts to the background with like some decorative stapling and that makes these little 2 by 2 squares that are half hearts, and you can see the uh, paper, the pattern paper I've chosen underneath. And I really liked that wordy pattern paper for the underneath of this page. I thought maybe I would use it on both sides, but I thought it would be too overwhelming, so I'm going to do something else instead. But we're moving really fast here just because I rearranged these about 1 billion times before I'm happy. And what I've done here is I've actually accidentally cut 3 blue ones and only 1 yellow one. So I'm thinking to myself, how do I fix this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a journaling card from the collection, and I decided to go with this bright yellow happy little moments because I really love the pop of color that it gives the page. So I've cut this down to a 2 by 2 as well. It's slightly wider than 2 inches just because the sentiment was slightly wider than 2 inches. And I'm going to glue all of these half hearts down in a grid pattern here. And then I'm going to, exactly like it looks here, I'm going to put that happy little moments card just slightly at an angle in that grid, and I'm going to pop it up on pop dots so that it looks like you, obviously it's going to draw your eye with the color, but it just looks like a little bit of a broken grid, right? Just that little extra pop. So I'm going to be using that yellow throughout this page to create a path for your eye to travel, to highlight things I want you to look at. I thought I was going to use this extra heart on the right hand side of this page because I wanted to sort of draw both sides together with that same motif, but I can never ever make it fit on the right hand side of the page, so we end up not using it, even though I did back it in yellow. That would have been a great way to incorporate that yellow as well, but it just doesn't work for me. I'm going to use this pink as my main background, and when I cut it down I realized that I never cut down the left hand side so that it was only 8.25 inches tall instead of 8.5 inches tall, so I went ahead and did that. And to bring in that wordy paper to the other side as well, I'm going to map my photo in it, and I'm going to strategically place my photo down so that the words that are framing the photo match the photo. So we've got kisses, XOXO, loved, adored on the, or loved on the top, and then on the bottom it says adored together and family. I like how that worked out. I'm going to cover up a couple of these words, but I'm going to try really hard to keep them mostly visible. So now that I've got everything cut out, I decided I needed a little bit more color on this side of the page, so I'm going to add this green in a notched banner as well. It ends up getting covered up more than I would like, but it does give just a little bit of extra color on that side. And since we're working with some pretty muted colors, I felt like the layout needed just a little bit more on the right hand side as well. Just some more pattern too, because you know I love pattern. I work with pattern paper all the time. I design pattern paper, so pattern is like my thing. So I really try to work it in as much as possible on my layouts because I just love working with it. So I decided to punch my holes before I got started so that I wouldn't cover up where the holes are going to go with my photo, since I didn't want to punch any holes in my photo. I initially put this right up in the top corner, but I felt like it was just too high and too I don't know, obvious, like it needed to go down just a little bit. So that's what we did. I'm going to try and work that heart in quite a bit here in the beginning, and then I'm just going to abandon it eventually. But you can see it's just too big for this side of the page. Maybe if my photo was a little bit smaller it would have worked, but I wasn't going to go reprint my photo so that I could incorporate an 8th heart into this layout. So I'll just incorporate my yellow other ways. So I have some word bits pulled out that I thought would work, and I immediately abandoned that one for this one instead. There's a couple of fur baby references in this collection, so that is why I used this picture specifically on this layout, so I want to incorporate them. I also wanted to add in this, the sweetest thing, but it was kind of small for all of the blank space up there in the top of my photo. So again, I'm trying to incorporate this heart, but the heart is too big, so I'm just gonna put it aside for now. I thought maybe I would anchor it with this yellow heart, but I thought that that didn't work. Like, it just didn't look balanced there either. So now I'm going to go to this yellow heart. It's still not going to work for me, but it's going to stay there for a little while until I figure out what does work for me. I have these word strips, and there's one in here that says, I forgot what it says, but it's yellow, so I thought I would pull it out too, because again, I'm using this yellow color to lead your eye around the page. I'm really loving this washi tape in this collection. I think it's really versatile and makes a good impact without being too busy, so I'm going to incorporate it underneath my photo here too. I used it on my last layout too, so maybe I'll make it 4 for 4 and use it on all 4 of my layouts with this collection. We'll see. But I do love the pop of dark black that this adds to my layout, and I think it works really well to break up all of those muted colors and just add a little bit of a pop. I decided I needed to pull everything down a little bit because I didn't want to cover up those words again. So I'm going to actually stick this washi underneath my photo, underneath the mat, so that nothing gets covered up. So I just needed to move everything down a little bit. Next, I'm going to start adding in some clusters, and I thought, so I needed to add in some blue from the left-hand side to the right-hand side as well. So I was going to initially put this underneath the photo, just like I did the washi tape, just as like a little pop of blue. But then I almost immediately was like, no, this should mat this word bit that I'm trying to incorporate here. So instead of sticking it underneath the photo, I'm going to move it to on top of the photo underneath this word bit. So now I got to pull it out. These stickers are always super sticky, so I'm a little bit worried, but we get it up without ruining anything because it wasn't down very long. But once it's on this picture, it's on this picture, so I'm making sure to put it exactly where I wanted it. I didn't want it to say for your information, and I liked the little pop of design that this banner gave. Just everything. I just like the banner, so I'm going to stick that above and put my snuggled up with my fur baby underneath. But I am going to peel off some of the chipboard. I'm trying not to have 1,800 albums for 2023, so anytime I can make my pages less bulky, I do. So I pull off some of that chipboard backing and stick it down with my tape runner instead. Okay, so I have a cluster down on the bottom. Now I still need to work on this top corner, and I knew I needed to add in some yellow too, because I want 3 points of yellow on this page to create a visual triangle. So I decide that I'm going to add, I'm just still thinking, and then I realize that I still have that yellow piece of that card. So I'm just going to add a half circle to the top of this photo, and I think that that gives me a really, like, it's a little bit large, so I need to cover it up a little bit more, but it gives me that yellow that I was looking for, and also covers up enough of the photo up there that there's not like that big blank space, and it feels like it frames in the photo really well. So I decided that I could cover up kisses because this is a dog, so I decided that to move that yellow half circle all the way up to the top of the photo mat rather than starting it on the photo itself. That way it doesn't encroach the photo too much. And then I'm going to add this heart here, but I am going to change it eventually. I thought I needed some more blue, which I do, but I don't, like, it just doesn't have enough of an impact for me here. So I'm going to end up changing it down the line, and you will see how I do that. But first, let's move on. So I wanted to use some of the rub-ons, and I wanted to use these pink hearts because I thought that that would help bring some of the pink from the background to the foreground and make that sweetest thing tag look a little less like it's just hanging out there. But I'm framing this. I have to remember that when you use rub-ons, if you put them on the dark part of the photo, no matter what they look like before you rub them on, they are going to be dark. I always have to remember that, and I don't remember it here. So I put it down there, and it looks a little bit awkward, but we'll survive. Uh, Next, I'm going to create a journaling spot for this page, and I thought that I would like this yellow tab, and I wouldn't mind it with the yellow sentiment, and I don't, but I do eventually decide that it's a little bit boring, so I'm going to cover up most of this yellow tab when I end up embellishing later on down the line. But for the moment, we're going to have this yellow sentiment in this yellow tab, and it gives me that one more pop of bright yellow for this page that I'm looking for to get that visual triangle going. Obviously, there is a deeper sort of greenish yellow, or it's like less saturated, but I need 3 points of that super bright yellow in order for this visual triangle to work. So I've got it with this word strip now. And now I'm kind of looking at this going, it just doesn't feel grounded. That word or that journal spot is just hanging out there in space. So I wanted some more black. So I cut the rub-on in half and used it in 2 different places, and that really grounds the whole cluster from top to bottom on this page. So I am going to leave that there, but it's still like that bottom right hand corner is just still looking a little bit odd to me. So I put this rub on down, and I immediately regret it because that heart looks a little bit drippy, and the other 2 hearts that I used do not. So now I immediately went into my ephemera stash trying to find things to cover this stuff up, and I decided that this is what this page needed to ground completely, was this typewriter. So I offset that yellow word bit on the typewriter paper, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some of these multitudes of birds in this collection. I'm going to add one up there and then a pink one down here, and I really think that this finishes off this layout really nicely. I still needed to cover up that heart, so I did it with this cute little mailing label, and we are good to go. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There's a link to Coco Daisy in the description box below if you would like to start a subscription, and I will see you next time. Thank you.